boys and girls. Boy. Ooh, I love saying these words. It's hump day. Oh, I love it's hump day because it's a few days away from Monday, but it's a few days away from the weekend. And the weekend, we always know, boys and girls, it's that much closer to indie wrestling. And there's plenty of it, might I say. And not only that, after the workday, we get to talk to some of our favorite indie talents. And look who we have tonight. We've got ourselves a beauty. Wait till you talk to this kid. My friends, this is Stirring the Pot with Donkey Cade. And my very special guest, MIT, Mr. Intellectual Tavius. Welcome to the show, my friend.
How are you doing, sir? How are you doing today?
I am doing fine. I've been wanting to say Mr. Intellectual Tavius all day long. Holy shit, because a few things. Because kind of fun to say. I got to give it to you, the MIT. You have to break it down a little bit. And but Mr. Intellectual Tavius, it is a mouthful, but I like saying it. It's a lot of fun. But
see, that's the whole point of it, Don. The whole point of it, Don, is you have the acronym. You got to teach the people. You got to make them work for it. You can't just leave it easy for these people.
No, because I don't mind stalking your face page or following your face page and stuff like that, because that's what I do. I got to see what's up with the talent. And that's the only way, boys and girls, when we name the names and we name the promotions. I know I say this on the regular, but if you don't know some of this, the names and promotions that we speak of, just get on the face page or the Twitter or the Insta or whatever your favorite platform is, and see if you can find some of these things, that these people and promotions that we talk about. That's how we get more eyes on our favorites in my area, in your area, and such. So that was one thing. MIT, Mr. Intellectual Tavius, Tavius. Check them out.
Yes,
We're going to get into the deets at the tail end. But not only that, boys and girls, second reason why I've been wanting to say that all day, this guy, young talent, looks fantastic in the ring, interacting with the fans already in his young career. He has returned. There was a hiatus. And that's kind of where I want to start, because the curiosity has got me, my friend. And I know that you were on one of our brothers over there at PWZ, the PWZ zone. We love PWZ. And I hope you had a fantastic time with the prof, Rick Del Santo. We love the prof.
No, I had a blast. PWZ was fun. It was different. It was my first podcast. So
oh, nice.
It was cool, kind of getting the nerves out of there a little bit, but it felt good. It was fun.
Yes.
Yeah, no, the hiatus, man. Was doing my thing. I started in 2018 and was working for about 11 months, was working, training, doing my thing, and kind of had some, I'm originally from Pennsylvania, so I kind of had some stuff come up. And at the time when I was living with my dad in Connecticut, and so I came back home, and I kind of just had to settle some things here, and took a couple of years, and now I finally got myself back to the point where I can get back in the ring and focus on the career and put the focus where it needs to be.
Wow. These are the things that we don't get to hear at the merch tables, boys and girls, when we're buying the stickers and the magnets and such. These conversations. That's why I love to sit down with the talent and get these kind of conversations out of the talent that we see in the ring. So there was no wrestling when you were in PA or wherever, before coming back home. You were focusing on what you had to do, and then you came back to wrestling. So there wasn't like there was wrestling in both places that you were, right?
No. When I took the hiatus, I strictly took time off. Focusing on it was a lot of just family. Nothing bad, just was focusing on family, and just
that's cool.
Sometimes family just comes first to me, and that's just how I roll. And once, like I said, I was at that point where I felt like it was comfortable to where family was doing good. I was able to kind of get my foot back in the door at Sanctuary over in West Hazleton in Pennsylvania, run by John Trotsky, and got there. And then a couple of the guys from PAPW just happened to be on that show, and they were like, "Are you back?" I'm like, "I guess so." And so one thing led to another. I started talking to some of the other promoters, and now I'm kind of back in the swing of things. And I'm loving every minute of it,
man. You triggered me with the Sanctuary. Those two words will always trigger me I've never been there personally, but I've seen the footage, the media from a distance. Obviously, I'm from Connecticut. They're in PA. The sanctuary, my man. Please tell us about this environment, because I've had a few people that not only have wrestled there, but actually, kind of dabble in the behind the scenes over there. Uh, Please talk to us as a performer, as a wrestler, an athlete, to walk into the sanctuary and see their production and see how it's all set up and whatnot.
Yeah, man, it's different. I mean, like normally your indie shows, I mean, like PAPW at the training facility, we kind of got our like garage kind of set up there. But like that's a lot of them. You get like a lot of them at like the Elks lodges and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
This one though, John Trosky went, like I believe he bought it or he rents it. I forget which one it is, but he renovated this whole church out strictly to put on professional wrestling and other shows. So he's got the whole light set up. He's got the stage. Ironically enough, actually a cool story for this place. The stage that we walk out on and the ramp itself are actually the aprons, the rails to the aprons for the rings from WrestleMania 3 and WrestleMania 6.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Getting to walk out on that, and like once I finally heard that, and I was like, when I learned about this, I was standing on it, and it's kind of that moment of like, wow, like the history that's right here. But then just the acoustics. I mean, it's in a church, man, so you get just the 80-foot tall ceilings and just the sounds and everything. It's just the lights. You get the people all the way around you in the pews. It's a whole nother. The music playing with the acoustics. It's wild, man. It's a whole nother set.
The environment is insane. The lights, the production, the professional photographers and videographers that they have over at the sanctuary do an excellent job over there. I love following that page, man. Great stuff.
It's different too, especially because like you're so used to having one camera angle for like a hard cam. Maybe you have one floating cam. Here it's like you have a hard cam. You have 3 floating cams going around. So there's so many angles you can get of different stuff. Oh, it's just the footage you get out of it's beautiful.
And one thing that's very unique that I've spoke about probably 3-4 times, maybe even 5 times on this show, that's nowhere else that I've personally seen. And this happened to you, and this is so crazy that we are on the sanctuary, and I know you've spoken about this match with the Prof Rick Del Santo, but my goodness, the conversation we're having about the sanctuary and their uniqueness with the production and all of that. Here comes boys and girls, another unique portion of the program when it comes to the sanctuary. Because of the media, they felt as a company, a promotion, that they were never going to use the bottom rope and only have the top and the middle ropes. So you could get full angles all the time, rope free. And that's what they do specifically at the sanctuary. So a lot of their stuff, if you do notice, if you follow their pages, there is a lot of upward angles and whatnot. My God, looks amazing. One of my all-time favorite pictures that's ever come out of there is Prince Ahmed. Oh, he is so picturesque.
Prince Ahmed always gets some good pictures.
He is so picturesque. Oh my goodness. But the segue that I'm going to make into this is, boys and girls. Just recently, we were at Point Blank. It was at the training facility over in East Haven at Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling.
That was an alley fight. That wasn't.
That was an alley fight. Oh,
that was alley
I'm
fight
sorry.
Before Point Blank.
I get stuff mixed up, and you were going against one Sean Venor, if I say that correctly, correct? Right?
Yep.
And holy cow, Mr. Venor comes out for his entrance. All he does is stand up on the ropes, and the top rope pops off like think. Everybody's like, "What the fuck just happened?" Go ahead.
It was just one of those things, man. He came in and he stood up on the second rope, just doing what all of us do. And I mean, like I said to Rick at PWC, it was 4. We were match 4, so there was 3 matches prior to us of people hitting the ropes, going off the turnbuckles, taking turnbuckles, and nothing happened. And all he did was he just stood up and he just pushed off just so he could come back into the ring, and it snapped. And it was that moment of like, huh. you always hear the stories about it, or you see it like with the WWE guys and the big name guys, and then just to see it
Yeah.
happen there on such just a nonchalant move, it was very like okay. And I think the awkwardness of the sitting there for the 5 minutes of like, all right, well, I've never had a 5 minutes of standing here waiting for a ring to be fixed, but I guess the show must go on. It's live, so here we go.
Yeah, and we always say that too. It's always live television scenario, situation, if you will, when you guys and girls come out and perform in front of us. Because yes, there are mistakes, because not everything is perfect, and some are honing their craft. Well, you're always honing your craft within that
No,
ring, but
exactly.
some have more experience than others, and I get that, but you can't always be perfect. And never mind the mistakes, but these things that happen, you just got to kind of roll with the punches, man. And Mr. Venor was kind of walking around, and I was messing with him a little bit on the camera, and I was blaming Ref Q. I was blaming Ref Q for it.
It's too easy to blame Q. Q's the easy target all day.
I don't even want to get into that stuff. But
I know. He's been giving you enough problems.
We were having some fun, and if I'm not mistaken, Gemma valeted him into the ring, did she not?
Yeah, she was. Yeah, she was in the ring when it happened too. Which I was on. I mean, not gonna lie. Honestly, I mean, when it snapped, I wasn't worried about me or Sean just because we're there. I mean, we've been in there before. I was genuinely worried. I'm not gonna lie for a second about other people, just because I mean, I get it is what it is, but the things are tension and there's a lot of pressure there. So I don't know where it's gonna go. And that moment definitely was a. Whew. And then once it just kind of fell straight down, it definitely was a breather for a second. I was like, all right, no one got hit. We're good. No one lost an eye here.
So all of this right here in this little ball of wax, boys and girls, brings us to this moment, and it kind of melds from the sanctuary to what happened at PAPW Alley Fights. So they took no bottom rope for the rest of the evening.
Bottom rope, put it to the top.
Yeah, and they did a little switcheroo. And I'm like, holy shit, we're in the sanctuary in East Haven.
Yeah, no, when I was sitting out there and that happened, and they were like, we're gonna put the bottom to the top. I was like, well, at least I'm used to it. So it's like I train at Sanctuary a lot. That's kind of my training spot now, since I can't get to PAPW. So yeah, no, getting to be there all the time, it's really nice. So then once that kind of happened, I was like, well, I guess we're just gonna run with it. But it definitely was different just because obviously you get used to your setups the way they are at each promotion. And so I mean, BAPW's always had 3 ropes, so it was a little different. And Sanctuary has cables. BAPW has ropes, so it's a little different too using cables compared to ropes. So it was a curveball, but it was interesting.
I actually just heard on a podcast, specifically Coronet's experience. He was talking the difference between cables and ropes and this and that, and he's like, when you're working with one to the other, you better hit them. You better hit them correctly, because you can feel them in your ribs, and you're gonna fuck up your rib. And Coronet is not, he does not hold back words. He goes, you'll fuck up a rib. Did we lose you for a second there?
Nope,
okay.
I'm still here. Sorry, I had a random phone call come through for a second.
That's okay. It's probably an extended car warranty. That happens to me.
Probably, exactly.
Oh shit! Car warranty threw me off.
You were saying about Cornet saying about hitting the cables.
Yeah, Coronet. The difference between cables and ropes, and not only that, the way you have to apply them and set them up in a different setting than one to another. Talk to us, because you're working both cable and ropes. Could you talk to us, to the fans, because we're not running those ropes? Talk to us the difference between the two.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely feel a difference. I mean, with the cables, because it's obviously it's a metal cable and they put a cover around it. Ropes, it's literally just a regular braided rope and they string it around. You kind of just stretch it to a certain tension. The difference is you're gonna get cables. You're gonna get a lot more force when you hit them to come back into the ring. You're gonna get a lot more pressure coming off. It kind of depends. I like cables because of being able to do high flying stuff, springboard stuff like that. It helps you with a rebound a lot. Ropes, they sink so much. I mean, I've done rope moves at Sanctuary and I've done rope moves at PAPW, and I've sank almost to the bottom rope on PAPW because I'm on a rope compared to being on a cable and I sink down 3 inches. So it's definitely different. Hitting them, you definitely feel it a lot more. Obviously, there's a lot more tension, and because it's a cable and there's just basically like a garden hose cover kind of over top of it, it kind of rebounds a little bit in there. So that's kind of why sometimes you hear a little bit of a slapping, but that rebound really kind of just catches you last second. So yeah, definitely ropes or cables, you'll feel it a lot more on your ribs. But it kind of depends. Ropes are nice because, like I said, when you hit the ropes, it's not as bad. It's a lot softer. You can lean into it a lot more. I don't really have a preference though. I mean, to me, I've learned my way on both ends of it, so I'm at the point where it doesn't really bother me for either one of them.
Oh, very, very. Thank you for sharing that type of information, because that's the kind of stuff that I'm interested in, is the setups and some of that kind of stuff like that. And I'm a big psychology guy. You know, the psychology, the storylines, the characters. Give me that with some good in ring, and I'm hooked. You know, forever. But I'm definitely curious on the setups and whatnot. And he spoke of AJ Styles specifically because of his springboard forearm that he does, the phenomenal forearm. And he goes, and if you notice, every single time he does that, he is closer to the turnbuckle because they wrap so far from the corner off of the turnbuckle down the rope a little bit. They wrap it, and it has a little bit more stability and not as much give, because the WWE uses only the ropes, from what Coronet is saying. You know?
Yeah, no, and that's exactly why PAPW, they do that. I mean, Roman and Mancini run it the same way. They run the same ring that they were ran in when back in the 80s. So it's old school. You got ropes. You have the same height. It's not a low boy. And then some people just like to use cables because that's just what they do. I believe, honestly, I don't know what's cheaper, to be honest. I'm not sure if people use one over the other for a price difference. I know sometimes if you do hit a cable, like I said, they have that cover, so it kind of slaps around and makes a little bit of a noise. Other than that, shut up, Kincaid. Head out of the gutters. Head out of the gutters. But no, yeah. So I think it's just kind of a personal preference on the promoter, and I mean I've seen some people like ropes over cables. I've seen some people like cables over ropes. It's always a preference for the athlete.
Yeah. Again, thank you for sharing the info. We as fans, we don't know these things, you know, so I appreciate that. Now, working outside, because PAPW, that is your home promotion that you started training in. Is that correct in saying, or am I off on that?
Yeah. No. PAPW is where I started. That's my home promotion.
Okay. And again, boys and girls, if you're not familiar, I know I've said it on previous episodes. PAPW is Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling out of East Hartford, Connecticut, 662 East Co Ave in East Haven. And if you're looking at the Dollar General, don't go there. Go to the right, just a smidge, and you'll see there's a building behind there with the PAPW banner up there. Tons of fun. If you're an aspiring wrestler or whatnot, shoot down there, check it out. You've got Paul Roma, Mario Mancini, Paul Perez, Big Steve down there. So I mean, you have some minds, you have some really good stuff going on, and a lot of students coming out of there that are really shining bright, on fire right now, making their name known. So if we could, and I know this is about MIT, but because of that training facility, I'm gonna just start with one of the veterans, and then I'm gonna kind of come back to our the now generation. So I'm going to start with the longest reigning PAPW champion in their history, being one Richard Holliday, who came right up in the ranks in PAPW. And my man really has kind of really molded his way from PAPW and done his thing, and is really, really shining bright. Major contract with Major League Wrestling over there. Talk to us about seeing a guy like Richard Holliday, because you've kind of grown up around PAPW because of your dad, which we will get into.
Yeah. No, yeah. Richard Howard is one of those stars that, yeah, for sure. Once he started rolling, man, he was full steam ahead. I mean, for starters, I mean, he's got the build for it. You look at him and it's like, yeah, he's a pro wrestler. Um, so, and then once you start listening to him talk, it's like, wow, he's got the talking aspect of it. And you're like, all right. And then you watch him
It's a,
wrestle, and it's like, all right, here we go, and he can do all of it. It's like, all right, this is pretty interesting to watch. But no, I mean, I got to train with Richard Holiday when I was starting up before I actually started wrestling. And it's definitely it was really cool. It was intimidating, but it was cool. I mean, you get to sit there and pick a brain of this guy who was one of the first students of PAPW, along with, I believe it was Matthias was the other one of their first students. So getting to work with both of those guys, Matthias and Holiday, it was very cool. Just getting to learn from them a little bit. I know when I first started, Matthias was just coming off of, I think, a wrist injury. So he wasn't really able to train too much. But Holiday was he had just won the Super 16 Cup or something like that.
I believe it's a Super 8 like ECWA or something
Yeah,
like that, if I'm not
Super
mistaken.
8, and he got the trophy for it. So he had just
Yep.
won that. So he was just starting to take off. So no, it was cool getting to learn from him, watch him work McDrake and those guys.
Yep.
Yeah, no, it was just different. It was really cool.
Richard Holiday again, making his name known out there, has his thing. Looks even better than he did even a year or two ago. His physique has
I'll
changed.
agree with that, 100%. He's definitely.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like I said, Richard Holiday looked good when I started in 2018, but now, I mean, he's only stepped himself up, which is actually pretty impressive for him.
Absolutely. Now I want to revert to the now generation being mainly the nucleus around the PPW students, because they have been on fire everywhere, like legit. Not only that, they've just gone cross country to Indiana, for crying out loud. That's the Miracle Generation collectively being Dustin Waller, Kylon King, The Haven as a tag team being Sean Knight and Jay Onyx. Then we have the Zachariah Gibbs, if you will, and other. We have the MIT. I mean, these young talents that are being molded and and becoming some pretty heavy hitters out there and doing their thing, where promoters want them. It's not. And I know it's a hard start where you have to reach out, reach out, reach out, reach out, reach out, reach out.
Yep. No, for sure.
Promoters are reaching out to these kids already at such a young tenure in their career. Talk to us about these young students that are coming out of here.
Yeah, I mean, especially, I mean, I could talk for days about Dustin. I mean, me and him literally started together. I mean, you may have been there our first match. I'm not sure. That was a New Year's Retribution. That was our first singles match. It was 2019. That was our first debut singles match. But I mean, yeah, no, me and Dustin, we both trained our asses off together for 11 months, or actually before that we were like 6 months into I was 6 months into my training, I think, when that show happened. So, I mean, I was shortly into my training. Dustin had been around for about a year. Haven had been around with Dustin already for about a year. So we all kind of knew what we were doing. Kai came in a little later, Kylon King. And then that's kind of when I took my hiatus, because I mean, honestly, I feel like I was in the Miracle Generation a little bit, like before it was a thing. And yeah, then me and Dustin, I mean, I felt like a little overshadowed by Dustin a little bit, and he was getting put on shows before I was, and then we started feuding a little bit, man. And then after that, I feel like it's been very touch and go. It's kind of like gasoline and the lit match next to each other. I mean, we have definitely a history. I feel like it used to be better. Now, I mean, after everything happened and after feel like I got ousted from the Miracle Generation. I mean, what are you gonna say? I mean, it's kind of I feel a little bittersweet sometimes. So, but no, I mean, are those guys doing work? For sure. I mean, Haven's out there traveling the coast. Kylon King and Dustin Waller out there traveling. They all go together. One goes one way, two go one way, two go the other. I mean, they're doing it for sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, no, definitely it'll be, I think, including me and all of them and Zachariah Gibbs and all these new guys. You got the Battle Academy coming up. I mean, they've been on fire. To me personally, I think Battle Academy's been on fire for a year.
And if I could, and I hate to interrupt, but I will. Battle Academy, meow. Please continue.
Was not expecting that. But you got Greg, you got Sunset Steve. He's there. He's doing his thing. You got Greg Baylor there. He's coming up. He's a new guy just coming up now. Yeah, everybody's in there wanting to get a piece of it, man. I'm loving it. Everybody's got a fire under their ass. I mean, I think I got one of the biggest ones, missing that 3-year gap and now trying to keep up with Dustin and all those guys. And I feel like I honestly keep up with them pretty damn well. I still feel like I should have won that match against Dustin. That it was supposedly a draw. I still think I pinned him on that. But I mean, hopefully I get my rematch after I beat Sean Venor. That showed kind of an easy stepping stone for me. I hope it doesn't show me, like I said to the professor on PWZ, hopefully it doesn't show that they take me as lightly anymore. Hopefully they show that, yeah, I took a 3-year hiatus, but I'm still MIT. I'm still the smartest man in this business. And honestly, I still consider PAPW my home territory. And honestly, I want to get gold there first. So, and I kind of want to steal Dustin. I kind of want to take Dustin's belt from him. So.
Oh, wow. You used the word steal there. I heard steal.
Wow. Eddie Guerrero, lie, cheat, and steal, baby.
Okay. You didn't think I caught that, but I did. Please talk to us about the character, because now we got to bring it back to MIT. Talk to us about this character, MIT. Is he a character? Is MIT your government name? If it is, that's cool. If it isn't, that's okay. You don't have to tell us those things. But give us a lowdown. Is there a background story of one MIT? Because Mr. Intellectual Tavius, it seems to have taken a little bit of thinking to kind of come up with something like this.
Yeah. The name, I won't lie. The first Mr. Intellectual was all me. I got that part. I couldn't think of something to come up with a T. I went to MIT and I wanted to come, but when I came in, I wanted to do maybe like $1 million kid. I had just bought like a really nice suit for a wedding that I was going to. So I was like, all right, maybe I'll do something like this. And I was talking to Roma and I was like, Roma, I kind of need some help. And he's like, nah, don't do $1 million kid. They already did DiBiase. So he said, use your school. And I'm like the colors? He's like, no, use MIT. I'm like, I can't, it's trademarked. And he's like, no. He's like, use it for the acronym. And I'm like, okay. So he helped me come up with Tavius, which Tavius just means, it literally translates to smart person. So basically, It's just a smart way of saying smart person. So I'm Mr. Intellectual Smart Person, but we got rid of that, and we're just going to call me Tavius. Okay. And so originally when I came out, I did the original. You probably remember when I first came out. I had like the Letterman's jacket. I had the alma mater, the MIT alma mater. That was what playing. So it was very kind of William Regal, Hunter Hearst Helmsley. And then I kind of took that hiatus and I came back, and honestly, I just wasn't feeling like the slow music anymore or like the Letterman's jacket. I kind of wanted to throw my own little spin on it. So I kept the MIT, and I was just like, all right, let's take the letters off the Letterman jacket and we'll get a leather jacket. So that I kind of got a little bit from Mox, and it was kind of just like he came back with the leather, with the vest with his name down the middle, and I was like, all right, let me just do it down the side. So I did it diagonally. I did it diagonally, and I liked how it looked. And then I found the music I come out to now. It's a little bit of rap music that I like, and I was just like, all right, I got this edgier side. And obviously you see, I still do the sophisticated. I'll sit there and study you all day. I'll talk smart to you, and I'll use my brains that I have. But I felt like the schoolboy kind of gimmick had already been done. I mean, you've done Hunter Hearst Helmsley once, you can't do it again. So why not try to do that, but just put an edgy side to it? And that's kind of where I'm at now, man. And I'm really liking it. Probably looking to get some new gear, maybe switch up the color of the gear a little bit, but still going to keep the name, man. I'm kind of liking it. I'm liking where I'm rocking and rolling, and I feel like it's doing good.
Nice. If anybody, you could outsmart me like that. We all know that. That's nothing. That's not even a fair game. Now the gear, again, I've said previously at the beginning, when you come out, you're one of these guys, and I know you're young in your career here, but you don't half-ass it. You come out in solid, professional-looking gear. When you come through the curtain, we know what to do. Either we boo Mr. MIT or we cheer Mr. MIT. You give us some signals, we react. That's wrestling. So I applaud you on all of that. Not looking half-assed, because it's easy to look half-assed. You know, you can have all
No,
of
yeah.
these moves in the ring and stuff, but if you look like garbage coming through the ring because you didn't have enough money to maybe get some gear or just didn't have whatever the resources, you come out and you look good, and I applaud you for that, sir.
No, I appreciate that. I appreciate that, Dom.
Now I kind of wanted to. I'd be remiss if I did not, because I did mention that you kind of probably grew up around PAPW a little bit because of your pop, Sergeant Murray. What what a what a character he is. First off, but an
Yeah.
American hero, comes out with the flag, does even a little cannon, a little
Mm-hmm.
ladder in his career with the flag. A lot of fun. Love making gifs of one Sergeant Murray and the confetti when he would pop that some bitch. Oh yes, but American hero, always a good guy, always for truth and justice. Not only that, when he had to take a turn in his career, he became a suit, if you will, and he was like the COO or DOO or
I
some
don't know. He basically tried to be
director
Triple
of
H when he
operations
first
or
cut the
something.
hair off. He was basically Triple H when he cut the hair off, except he didn't have the hair to cut off. So
Exactly. It would have been cool if you kind of grew one of them badass things, you know, that Triple H had going on. You know, you
yeah,
never
when he
know.
had like the mustache, like when he had like the bean strap that came down and then went over and over. Yeah.
A homage to Lemmy off of
Oh yeah, Motorhead. Yeah, there you go.
off of Motorhead. But Ralph Murray, a fine character wrestling wise, almost like a, you know, and I don't want to compare anyone to anyone, but he just had that Hacksaw Jim Duggan vibe, you know, that all American vibe, and he got everybody
Mm-hmm.
behind every single show, you know, always again for truth and justice on that. But growing up, you were around him going to the facility, and I know you're not that old, but you're not that young either. Growing up around the facility, is this what got you into becoming a wrestler?
No. So I got into pro wrestling because of my dad. When he lived in Pennsylvania originally. Uh, lived there. We watched it all the time when I would go visit him. A lot of it was just like Monday Night Raw. I came into pro wrestling and like Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown. It might have even been Thursday nights. In like 2003, 2004. So like end of the Attitude Era, right before PG era. And I grew up watching Taker because my dad liked Taker. I've always been a Taker fan. My favorite Taker is the American Badass. So like I can tell you everything he's done. That's just Taker for me. And so my mom was never a fan of it. And so as I grew up, dad moved to Connecticut and I stayed with mom. And so doing that, I would watch it, but she wasn't the biggest fan of me watching it. And so I knew I couldn't do pro wrestling in PA at the moment when I was younger. So I did amateur wrestling. I'm like, all right, it's the next closest thing I can do. So I did that from when I was in middle school all the way till I graduated high school. Went to college and then got work in Connecticut. And I came out to live with my dad, lived with him. And I was like, hey, I want to stop by the school and just check it out, just see what it's like. I knew he was in the business and I was just like, oh my God, I can go check this out. And like Roma runs the school. Like he's a WWF legend. Like this is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And little did I know, Dad set me up. I walked down there. I was like, Dad, you coming down? He's like, no, I got to stay here tonight. I got work in the morning. I was like, all right. So I go down there, and next thing I know, I like walk in there, and I'm in like a pair of sweatpants, sneakers, and just like a t-shirt. I was not ready to get in a ring. And Roma goes, oh, you showed up. You're getting in, right? Excuse me, what?
What?
And he's like, yeah, you're getting in the ring. You're learning to take bumps tonight. And I was like, all right, guess I am. I'm not gonna say no to I'm not gonna say no to Roma. Like, no, dude will break me in half. Dude's almost 60 years old, and he still looks like he did back in '85.
I know.
And so yeah, man, I got it. And then once I took my first bump, and like the first couple, like they suck, you get used to it. And then once I was getting used to it, man, it was wheels were off. We were running. And then I was able to start getting my gimmick. And once like the gimmick came into play and I started just being able to use myself and not have to go and come up with something that I'm not, I was like, this is easy. I can sit here and just talk my crap and do what I do because this is who I am. So no, yeah, it definitely started when I was younger, but having dad running the business definitely helped me get my foot in the door.
Absolutely. That's where I get mine from as well. My love for wrestling is Papa Kincaid.
Okay.
And but you spoke of the naturalness of the character, and I speak a lot about that on here. Is the natural ones that you can kind of just take from life, like Roma says, no, just use your school, and and you started kind of molding off of
Yeah.
that, and you just took kind of your real self, but maybe not your real self, and you just jump it up for wrestling. You know how they say amp it up or whatever.
No,
But
no,
those natural characters work out better than these ones that you have to work at and start from scratch and make a storyline or
no,
you know
yeah,
what I'm saying?
you start with this one character and it doesn't really work for a while. So then you kind of got to tweak a few things. And you bring it back, and it kind of is there, but it's kind of not. Honestly, I think a big thing about what I do is, and I'll use Taker for example, because he said it in one of like the retirement videos he did, the last ride series that he did, and he was just like, the only reason I stayed alive for as long as I did is I kept my finger on the pulse of the crowd. He goes, I never gave a shit about myself. You keep your finger on the pulse of that crowd. He goes, if they're out of tune, he goes, if you feel stale, they've probably been stale. And that's just the way I sit here. So that's why, like, I'll sit here and I'll watch anything just because I try to find every new move I can find, and I'll put it right in there just so that people watch me and they're like, this kid talks like he's smart, but he gets in the ring and all of a sudden he's doing flips and all this stuff. Like, where'd this come from? And I guess it's just what it is. You just got to keep your finger on that pulse, man. And like sometimes, as I was telling it with Rick, it's like indie shows, I feel like, are sometimes the energy in a room of an indie show is different than a WWE show.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's just because it's not there's not 17,000 people in the crowd, so you can be a lot more intimate. You can get a lot more close with those fans and do a lot more stuff with 50 to 200 people than you can with 17,000. So
No, you absolutely can. And I use the Test of Strength facility often when I talk about the intimacy of an event when they host their training days over there, because it's legit. You open a door, it's a room with about 20, maybe 30 chairs. I think there's probably like 20, maybe about 30 chairs set up.
Okay, so I've never been in the Test of Strength building, so I actually wouldn't be able to tell you. So that's crazy.
Yeah, it's really, really intimate. You think it's intimate over there? It's a tad more over there at the old Test of Strength dojo.
That's like Beyond too. That's like Beyond. They don't even have chairs. They're right up against the ring. Beyond and Wrestling Open, they're right up against the ring there.
Right. I've been to, because for me to go to Beyond regularly, it's like a 2-hour drive, and as a fan, I'm just A, it's after work, and B, I ain't got that kind of money for gas, my man.
Oh yeah, a little rough.
I mean, so for me personally, I'd love to do all of that Beyond stuff. I wish I could have been all the way through the uncharted territories and all of that, but it's unfeasible for me,
No, yeah.
But I have been to American Rana 2019 over at Foxwoods. Dude, that was absolutely just flipping insane. I mean, that show, there was probably about 3,000 maybe or so.
Wow.
It
was
right off the charts, man. It was a really cool standing. Like I'd say 80-ish% were standing because they did have a lot of seats. But the Beyond crowd, you know how they are.
Oh no,
most of
like
them.
I said.
And they only had 2 sides that you could stand on. You couldn't stand on 3 sides because of the seating that was available. Yeah. And then the other side was a hard cam. So there was mainly 2 sides, but my God, it was just a sea of people.
It's just like a swamp, yeah. And it's like I'm saying, man, you catch it, even if you go to PAPW and you get a show of like, even if the crowd's only 30, 40, 50 people, you catch them on the right night and you got the right matches in there, the atmosphere is just electric.
And we're talking about the subject right now, along with the intimacy of a smaller show than maybe what some are used to going to, or what maybe some will be like, I don't go to that puny shit. Or there are a lot of people that kind of snub their nose at the little shows, at the smaller, the smaller shows. But you just brought up a great point, because I spoke to this about to this exact subject to brings a tear to my eye to even say this. Former PAPW champion Matthias, after the event, we were speaking, and he consoled me because I was crying that he lost the championship. I was trying to console him for losing the championship, but the roles reversed. It was kind of weird. But uh, but the subject that I brought up was, I go, Matthias, did you not hear that crowd? Not only during X match, did you hear that crowd from legit? And this is no bullshit, boys and girls. And I'm not blowing smoke up anybody's ass here. From beginning to end, holy cow, at Point Blank, that was just absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
That was
no,
just absolutely amazing.
Listening to some of the videos. I think I was watching some of your videos and some of Fogman's clips. And no, I could hear the crowd. The crowd was buzzing that night. No pun intended for Richard Holiday. So,
hey, you got to get him in when you can.
it's a cheap, hopeless plug right there.
But yeah, the crowd was great. The event was great. Myself and my love, Cindy Hart, we had an absolute blast at Point Blank, and we were so glad that we went, man. It was just a great night all around. Now talk to us about this, coming back from this hiatus around in this area, because, me personally, I'm like, I popped when I saw you. I go, and that was at a, wait, hold on. It was at BST Royal Rumble. SGW Royal Rumble.
No, it was BST Royal Rumble. That's who it was.
Yes, BST. It was the Big Jim Memorial Battle Royal, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
You came out one of the first competitors that went to this side where I was on the ring at that time, and you came up, and you're right, because I seen you, and my eyes and my mouth popped wide open. I go, holy shit! And you came up to the camera, and you're like, I told you I'm coming back.
You know what? It was one of those things, man. It's like when you come back and you've taken a hiatus, let alone like you go like 6 months, it's long. In wrestling, that's a long time. But to do 3 years and like not train at all for 3 years, you don't do any of that. Wow. And all of a sudden just kind of dive back in, it's like you definitely sit there for a second and you're like, like, how's this going to go? Like, what are people going to say? Is anybody going to remember me? Is it just going to be crickets? Am I just going to have to start screaming to make people piss people off? And so when I knew you were going to be there, I was like, this is like taping that finger on that pulse. If I can get Kincaid to see me, he'll remember me. And we'll go right from there. And then these people will start going off of what Kincaid's doing. And that's what it was, man. I saw you sitting in that front row and I was like, that's where I'm going, right to that camera. And I remember watching you turn around and you looked up because you were looking at somebody. I forget who it was. I think it was one of the Battle Academy guys, because they came out first. And all of a sudden you pan and you look up and I watched you just go. And I was just like, that's the reaction I needed. That's what I needed right there before this match. So no, it definitely was interesting coming back. Like I said, it's definitely one of those things of like, are people going to remember you? Are people going to go and even give a crap that you came back or wonder why you took time off? So it's always cool, and it's fun to get the reaction like I got out of you.
My man, this is episode 18 of 20. We're doing 20 interviews in 20 days. Oh my God, I'm almost finished.
You're good, man.
I took this upon myself for whatever reason. This is definitely not my biggest venture in amounts of interviews. But this is interview 18. But when I came back here and did this 20 of 20, it almost seems like almost every single interview that I have done so far has surrounded the relationship and the chemistry that surrounds wrestler and fan. And you just nailed it right on the head, man. That's, boys and girls, it's not like Tavius messaged me on the old messenger or, whatever, and says, hey, Kincaid, blah, blah, blah. When I come out, blah, blah, blah. All of this stuff, dude, I always organic, raw, natural reactions, natural cheering, natural booing, natural chants, just like we're doing right now. This is always on the fly, always live TV.
Yep.
So when I turn around and I see Tavius and he sees me and I pop, that's legit chemistry from fan to wrestler, performer, athlete. And my God, I am so glad that, not everybody catches on to those reactions and not every performer sees them, because your
Yep.
head's spinning at times and you've got your own shit going on
Oh
during
no, for sure. I
entrances.
mean,
But making that connection, my man, we've talked about the connection so much recently. Um, Gaining that, though, the interaction between fan and wrestler, was that something that came natural to you? Was it a little bit hard? Did you have to warm up to it?
I mean, with my debut match, it was different because my debut match against Dustin, we had been to a couple like alley fights. We had been to a couple other we had watched a couple other big shows from backstage and stuff, but we never like got a crowd like we did that night in Joseph Malito Middle School. And that night we had it was 300 or 500 people. We had the place sold out, and we were opening match. And so that moment of knowing your opening match is what sets the tone for the whole night. If you don't have a good opening match, if your opening match is a sleeper, you're not going to have it. It's so hard to pull that crowd back. So definitely that one was like one of those like, all right, fight or flight. Like you have to do this now and like figure this out quick, or this is not going to work. And after I got out there, literally the second I broke through the curtain, I just started talking the way I talk, and the people reacted. And it just kind of felt really natural. And I was like, all right, like maybe we can keep this going. And yeah, as I kept doing more and more and more, and then you got into the one time, I think it was the day before New Year's Retribution, I attacked Dustin in his match. And like that got the crowd pop, and it's just all these interactions, man. So it's definitely like those moments of being in the crowd, you really have to try to focus on them, because if you don't, you very much sometimes get lost in the match. There's because as much as you hear the crowd, there's moments where I don't hear a thing from the crowd. And it's not that you guys aren't making the noise. It's just that there's so much here and what's in front of you and watching the ref and just seeing everything go on that sometimes you just get that sensory overload and it just sounds dead quiet. And you're like, are we doing anything to impress these people? And then finally you hit that big move, man. And all of a sudden you turn around and you hear that pop come up and you're just like, okay, I can breathe now. We can keep moving a little bit. So no, it's definitely, it was definitely different coming back though.
I have definitely heard that more than once, where you're in a zone, especially with the newer talent, because they have these blinders on. I don't want to mess this up. I want to be safe for myself and my opponent. I want to look good for the fans. I want to make sure I look good for the promotion. I want to make sure my spots are correct. I want to make sure you have these things on. But as you gradually grow as a performer, these little experiences that you were just talking about, these little interactions, one by one, they start building this package of an athlete and a performer, and these tools, one of these tools that you need to do that dance between fan and wrestler. I think you're doing a fine job, because you interact with us mighty fine, and we return the favor.
I appreciate it. So I know there was one thing you do want to talk about before we run out of time here, because I know you did want to mention working my dad. And
I do, because having, it's one thing to have your dad behind you, maybe you becoming an aspiring wrestler, but your he's a wrestler, and you're of a different age, obviously, because you're his son, but now you're getting into the same business that he's getting into. And I I can't believe I'm going to even say these two jackasses' name. I have to say it though. There's a son-father team out there called, collectively called Buff Inc. They are my nemesis. This is.
Yep, I know that thing.
I'm sorry. Two Buff and the Buff Dad. But I gotta say, as much as I think they are a couple of jackasses, they seem like they're having some of the most fun times of their entire life. Of their entire life. I mean, not that I
Oh
know them
God, yeah.
behind the scenes, but son of a bitch, it looks like they're having an awful good time.
Oh, for
To be
sure.
able to perform in the ring with your father, is it more nerve wracking? Is it something that you can kind of maybe let loose a little bit more, or how do you how do you go about wrestling dad? I mean, holy shit, dude.
Um, Dude, it's one of those things, man. I mean, like it's like we talked about this too on PWZ, but it's one of those cool things because you're right. I mean, not a lot of people. I mean, you get like Cody Rhodes is one of the few guys. Like Randy Orton's one of the few. Like, there's not a lot of people who are second gen who like wrestled in the same company. And don't get me wrong, I know I'm not in WWE. It's still PAPW, but it's still an experience
Second,
that a lot of people don't get to get.
yeah, yeah,
And so
absolutely.
now, like getting to do it, he was one of my first matches at Alley Fights. I don't know if you were there for that one,
I
but
don't think so. I would have remembered that.
yeah, you probably, because he chokeslammed me right on my shoulders. So
Oh no, I would have
um
definitely remembered
yeah, you would have remembered. I still remember it, kind of.
that.
But
Oh shit.
no, yeah, it's just one of those things, man. I mean, because like he's dad at home, and then like you go to the gym with him, and it's okay. Like, you get into the zone, like you're lifting, and then once you get in the ring, and he gets into his persona, and I mean, I'm already there in mine. I mean, like I said, my persona is who I am. Dad's persona, I mean, honestly, Dad's persona is who he is. Like I said, he just amps it up a little bit, a lot of it.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, being across the ring from him, it's different. Like I mean, he's twice the size of me. I'm not even trying to poke fun of him, but he's twice the size of me.
No, it's a
Um,
big dude.
but it's definitely a little intimidating, but it's different. It's fun. It's one of those moments that definitely will stay with me from my career. I definitely will always remember it. Like I said, as much of it as I can. Um, but yeah, no, it's one of those things, man. I mean, like, and Dad gets to watch me now, and like him watching me now, like I send him videos, and he's just like, kid, from 3 years ago to now, dude. He's like, this is insane. And so it's cool. It's cool to get to see the smile on his face, and it's cool to get to have him watch me do what I do, and he knows I'm loving it. So it's cool. It's different, but it's definitely interesting being in the ring with him.
uh, Thank you for sharing, my man. I do appreciate these kind of stories. What's the big picture for MIT? Are you looking to get to the WWE, the AEWs and such, or are you looking to stay on the indie scene? Some are, some aren't. Some have different goals. Can you share what your kind of end game is here as a wrestler?
Um, Honestly, really anywhere. I used to be growing up as a kid, like I was like, I'm going to WWE. And now, I mean, now being in the business, learning more about it, seeing the way it goes, um, now having you have the option. I mean, yeah, there was always Impact, but Impact it's always been it's always been lower than WWE. Now you have AEW, New Japan's coming up. Now they have New Japan Strong on the American side that's coming up even more now. Um, you got all these other indie promotions that are really starting to take off all of a sudden. So honestly, man, anyone who wants to offer me a contract and a good sum of money, I'm willing to go. I mean, if I have the options, I I would choose where I'd want to go. If it was only one person, like a WWE or an AEW or something like that, and that was all I had at the moment, yeah, I'd take it.
Mhm.
But yeah, my goal is just to do this as long as possible. I mean, I'm only 25 now, so
Yeah.
I'm just about a year back into this new resurgence of MIT and where I'm at, and I'm really liking it. And honestly, I'm hoping that it's just going to pick up speed from where it's going, man. For right now, though, what I'm looking at, I just want to dominate the indies right now.
Hey.
So, like I said, I want to start off at PAPW. I'd like to get my first belt there. Um, and then I definitely want to try to check out some Beyond, some NEW, Little Wrestling Open if I can get there. I know Sacrifice for Glory. I was talking to them a little bit, so I'm hoping I can hop in there a little bit.
Mhm.
I will be back at BST for Cataclysm against Cody Perrin. So that should be a nice, easy match for me. Shouldn't be too hard there.
You know, as much crap as I did give you at Point Blank, you totally got this with one Mister Perrin. Please.
I know. So yeah, so I got Cody Perrin coming up for that, so that should be a fun one. Yeah, and then hopefully I got some Sanctuary shows coming up, so hopefully we'll be getting a little bit of footage from me from a couple different promotions. But yeah, no, man, right now I just want to dominate the indies, and then if I get into the big leagues, I get into the big leagues, and hopefully we dominate it there.
Oh, very cool. I will keep my eyes open as I follow your pages over there. You know, and especially, you know, and I love me, you know, I love me some PAPW and my home promotions over here. We've got the TOSs and such and whatnot. But the Sanctuary, I love any media that comes out of the Sanctuary, man. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what the future holds. One MIT.
I
Before I
appreciate
do
it.
let you, absolutely, my friend. Before I do let you go, I want the fans to be able to find you on either, you know, your face page, the Twitter, if you will, or a Pornhub, if you have a Pornhub, or, you know, whatever you've got available. Hit us with some deets, my man.
For Twitter and Instagram, it is at it's Tavius. So at ITSMITAVIUS. For Facebook, it is Jackson Murray. Just look, if you can't find me, look up the Sarge. I'll be in there somewhere.
All right.
So yeah, man, that's the three I got right now. So
All right. No Pornhub. That's okay. That's okay.
I gotta keep that one on the down low.
I get it. On the DL. Uh, Mr. MIT, you have been absolutely fantastic speaking to us, the fans tonight, getting to know you, because this is legit our first converse. And I know we've known each other for a bit now, but this is legit our first hangout, sit down, chit chat, if you will, a little soiree. And I really, really do appreciate you taking some time out of your life and sitting down with us, the fans, and chewing the fat with some wrestling and MIT. I really do appreciate it.
No problem at all, man. I appreciate you having me on. I've been excited to do this. It's been a while. We've been talking about this literally for about 3 to 4 years now. So yeah, man, I'm excited. And like I said, hopefully I can come back on, and sky's the limit. So we'll see where we're gonna go in the next couple of years.
Yes, a return of one MIT. We love to see the evolution of our wrestlers. Yes, I would love to have that. What a fine conversation we had, boys and girls. On hump day. Oh my God, I love saying that just because we're that damn much closer to the end of the work week. This has been Sir in the Pot with Don Kincaid and my very special guest, MIT, Mr. Intellectual Tavius. Thank you, my man.